In the cold silence of deep space, beyond the borders of the Zelnar Empire, a small scout ship drifted quietly through the void. Its sensors swept across the darkness, searching for signs of movement, pirates, smugglers, or perhaps new trade routes. Captain Vrex stood at the center of the command deck. His long silver eyes glowed faintly as he studied the readings on the main screen. For days, the scanners had shown nothing unusual. But now, a strange signal appeared, faint, steady, and unlike anything the crew had seen before. "Adjust frequency," Vrex ordered. His voice was calm but sharp. "Let's see what's out there." The technician beside him tapped a few controls. The signal grew stronger, rhythmic, almost alive. "It pulsed like a heartbeat. That can't be natural," the technician whispered. Vrex frowned. The Zelnar had mapped this entire sector. There were no colonies here, no known civilizations, no reason for a transmission of this kind. "Source?" Vrex asked. "Unknown, Captain." "It's moving." "No, it's many signals. They're forming a pattern." A shiver ran through the crew. Space was big, but patterns meant intelligence. Someone was out there. Vrex leaned closer to the console. The signals were growing, more and more, each one perfectly timed, perfectly aligned. They weren't random. They were marching. "Put it on visual," he said. The screen flickered, then filled with a dark blue haze. Slowly, faint metallic shapes appeared in the mist, distant, cold, and massive. The scanner adjusted focus, and the crew gasped. It wasn't one ship. It was dozens, no, hundreds, a fleet. Each vessel was sleek, sharp-edged, and glowing with soft blue light. They moved in perfect silence, their formation tight and deliberate. "Who are they?" one of the junior officers whispered. Vrex didn't answer. He zoomed in on the lead ship. It was unlike any design he knew, not Zelnar, not Dominion, not any recorded race. The structure was clean, efficient, and terrifyingly precise. "Run a database check," Vrex ordered. The computer hummed for a few seconds, then displayed red text across the screen. "No match found. Impossible," the technician muttered. "Every known civilization is in the database." Vrex watched the formation. The ships were heading straight for the Zelnar border, but they weren't broadcasting any ID codes, no signals of peace or war. Just silence. "Could be new pirates," someone said. Vrex shook his head. "Pirates don't move like soldiers, and their ships don't look like this." He could feel it. Something about this fleet was wrong. Too quiet, too calm. Like a predator that didn't need to roar. "Send a signal," Vrex said finally. "Standard greeting. Identify and request purpose." The technician hesitated, then nodded and transmitted the message. The signal vanished into the void. Seconds passed. Then a minute, no reply. "Try again," Vrex said. This time the transmission didn't even send. The console froze, then rebooted on its own. "What was that?" Vrex asked. "Not sure. Our system just..." "Wait." The technician paused, eyes wide. "Captain, the signal is coming back." The bridge filled with static. Lights flickered. The main screen turned black, then flashed with faint blue code. Strange patterns crawled across the display, symbols no one recognized. "Shut it down," Vrex barked. The technician tried, but the controls didn't respond. The system wasn't theirs anymore. The alien fleet on the screen began to move. One by one, the ships turned, their hulls gleaming like steel mirrors under starlight. The lead vessel faced directly toward the scout ship. "They've locked onto us," someone whispered. Vrex's heart pounded. "Prepare evasive." The lights went out. Total darkness. For a long second, no one moved. The only sound was their own breathing. Then the backup lights flickered on, dim and weak. "All systems offline," the technician said. "Engines, weapons, communications, everything. How is that possible?" Vrex demanded. "We weren't even attacked." "I don't know. It's like something entered the network." Vrex looked at the frozen screen, the last frame still showing the human ships. The blue glow of their engines seemed almost alive. Then, through the static, a voice whispered over the intercom, deep, calm, and human. "You shouldn't have been watching." Every alien froze. The sound didn't come from their comms. It came from everywhere. inside the ship itself. The lights flashed once more, then died completely. Rex tried to shout orders, but the words never left his mouth. His console exploded in a burst of sparks. The smell of burning metal filled the air. The last thing he saw was the blue light, spreading, crawling across every wall like a living wave, and then the Zelnar scout ship, and every ship in that patrol fleet, went silent. Their final transmission reached the nearest outpost as nothing but a faint, distorted message, "Unknown fleet detected. Human systems shutting down." After that, the signal vanished. The void was quiet again, too quiet. Far from the dark edge of the galaxy, deep inside the Zelnar home system, the central command tower floated above the capital world. It was a structure of shining black glass and silver metal, filled with thousands of control rooms, sensors, and communication links. Every whisper of space passed through this place before it reached the Emperor himself. At that moment, the tower's main screen showed a repeating message: "Signal lost, Patrol Fleet 9 unresponsive." High Commander Serek paced across the room, his tail flicking with irritation. "Try again," he said sharply. "Reboot the link. Use deep-range relay." "We already did, sir," replied the communications officer, his voice trembling. "Every frequency returns the same." Total silence. Serek stopped and stared at the glowing red text. The scout fleet had been routine. They were professionals. They didn't simply vanish. "What was their last message?" he asked. The officer hesitated, then played the recording. The sound was broken, filled with static, but the words were clear enough to chill every being in the room. "Unknown fleet detected. Human. Systems shutting." And then, nothing. The room fell silent. Even the air seemed to grow colder. "Humans," someone finally said. "That old species from the Terran cluster? I thought they were still fighting among themselves." Serek narrowed his eyes. "So did I." He turned to the science officer. "Show me what we know about them." A hologram appeared, an image of Earth and its colonies. The database listed them as a young species, only a few centuries into space travel. Limited military presence, no interstellar empire, no advanced technology. "Pathetic," muttered one of the advisors. "Barely worth a mention." Serek didn't smile. "Then explain how they erased an entire fleet without firing a shot." No one answered. Moments later, an alert rang through the room. Another operator shouted, "Sir!" Energy fluctuations across 3 border stations. Same sector as the missing scouts. "Put it on the main screen." The display flickered to life, showing 3 outposts lined along the edge of Zelnar territory. One by one, their signals began to distort. The station lights dimmed. Power levels dropped rapidly. "What's happening?" Serek barked. "Unknown interference. It's spreading like a wave." "Wait, they're losing control of their systems." Static filled the room. The operator slammed his fists on the console. "We've lost contact." The holographic map updated automatically. 3 bright blue dots turned grey. 3 outposts, Serek muttered. In less than 10 minutes, the Emperor's personal advisor, Lady Thera, stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "Commander, perhaps this is some kind of viral weapon, a digital attack." Serek nodded slowly. "If that's true, it's the most advanced one I've ever seen." Thera looked at the screen again. "And it's spreading fast." Later that day, the Zelnar Council assembled in the Great Hall, 12 of the most powerful minds in the Empire. They watched the replay of the last scout transmission in silence. The image was grainy, but clear enough to show the outline of the human fleet. Dark, enormous ships glowing with a cold blue light. One counselor laughed nervously. "Perhaps this is a trick, a pirate signal, or another empire trying to scare us." But another counselor, older and wiser, leaned forward. "No, look at the structure of those ships. Look at the silence between them. No noise, no heat trail, no communication signals. Whatever this is. They are not afraid of being seen." "And the voice?" someone whispered. "It spoke their language." Thera replayed the final seconds. The deep voice echoed through the chamber again. "You shouldn't have been watching." The words seemed to fill the room with invisible weight. "They knew we were observing them," she said quietly. "They let us see, And then they shut us down. A long pause followed. Then Saric turned to the council. "What are your orders, my lords?" The Emperor himself finally spoke through the central screen, a tall, shadowed figure with eyes that glowed like molten gold. "Send a research fleet. Double the numbers. I want to know who these humans are. And if they dare step into our borders again, they will be erased." The council bowed. "Yes, Your Excellency." But deep inside, none of them felt confident. Hours later, at the border outpost closest to the blackout zone, the new research fleet prepared to depart. Engineers checked the systems twice, making sure no unknown signals could enter their network. "Keep all scanners in passive mode," the captain warned. "No active pings. We observe only." The ships jumped into hyperspace, streaks of light vanishing into the void. For several minutes, everything was quiet. Then the communications officer gasped. "Sir, our systems are detecting something. Moving fast." "Show it!" The screen flashed, hundreds of blue blips closing in. "Is it them?" the captain whispered. No answer came. The lights flickered once, twice, and then the entire fleet vanished from the grid. At the central command, alarms screamed. Zerek turned to Thera. Not again. But it was. All ships gone. No explosions, no wreckage, just silence. A new signal appeared on the main screen, a single line of text glowing in soft blue. "We told you not to look." The room fell still. No one dared to speak, and for the first time in generations, the mighty Zelnar Empire felt fear. For 3 days, the Zelnar Empire tried to make sense of what had happened. 2 fleets were gone. 3 border stations were silent. No explosions, no debris, no signs of battle, just nothing. At the central command tower, High Commander Saric stood in front of the massive holographic map of the Empire. Where bright lights once showed patrol routes and colonies, there were now empty grey zones. Each one marked lost contact. 50 ships, Saric said quietly. 50 ships gone like smoke. No one answered. The room felt heavy. Even the air system seemed to hum softer, as if the tower itself feared making noise. Lady Thera entered, holding a datapad close to her chest. Her face was calm, but her eyes told a different story. "Commander," she said, "we caught something from the dark sector, a faint signal buried in static." It lasted only a few seconds. Saric turned sharply. "Play it." Thera nodded and touched the pad. The speakers filled with a low, broken sound, a whisper under layers of static. At first it was impossible to understand, but then slowly words began to form. "Observation. Forbidden. Cease transmission." The voice was deep, cold, human. The technicians froze. "Run it again," Saric ordered. They did. And this time, at the end of the clip, another word came through, one that made every Zelnar on the bridge fall silent. "Warning." The sound stopped. For a long time, no one moved. Finally, Saric spoke. "They're talking to us." Thera shook her head. "No, they're warning us." The commander's eyes narrowed. "If they can speak through our systems, they can hear us too. That means they're watching." He looked around the room. "Turn off all long-range scanners." "Every one of them, now." The officers obeyed quickly. Consoles went dark, screens shut off, and the lights dimmed as systems powered down. But even with everything offline, the feeling didn't go away. Something was still there, watching. That night across the Empire, strange things began to happen. Navigation beacons blinked at random. Power stations shut down for a few seconds, then restarted on their own. Messages appeared on private terminals, short lines of text written in the human language. "We asked you to stop. Leave the dark sector. This is your final warning." At first, the messages were ignored. Officials called them malfunctions or digital noise. But when a shipyard's entire AI core displayed the message "goodbye" before melting its own circuits, people started to believe. Fear spread like fire. Workers refused to go near communication stations. Pilots turned their ships away from the border. Even soldiers began to whisper, "The humans are ghosts." In the Great Hall, the Zelnar Council met again. The Emperor appeared on the central screen, his expression unreadable. "Enough of this," he said. "These humans hide behind tricks and shadows. If they will not speak, we will make them, Thera spoke carefully. Your Excellency, with respect, every time we reach for them, our systems collapse. They can control our technology from light years away. Then we use something they cannot touch, the Emperor replied. All ships, manual engines. No AI, no network, Sarek nodded slowly. You mean analog? Exactly. Build a small fleet. Send it quietly. Find them and show them who rules this galaxy. The order was final. No one dared argue. 3 weeks later, a dozen old Zelnar cruisers launched from the hidden docks of Vekar Prime. They were slow, heavy, and noisy, but fully manual. No computers, no advanced systems for the humans to control. Inside the lead ship, Captain Drex adjusted his headset. No digital comms, he said to his crew. We talk by voice only. Keep your minds sharp. They jumped into hyperspace and vanished into the dark sector. For 2 days, nothing happened. No signals, no attacks, just the endless silence of deep space. Then, on the 3rd day, the lights dimmed. Power drop. Drex asked. No, sir, replied his engineer. Everything's normal. But the stars, look. Outside the viewing port, the stars began to flicker, one by one, as if something massive was passing in front of them. Then the shadow took form. It was a ship. No, an entire fleet, human ships, dark, metallic, and endless, stretching across the void like a wall of moving light. They were waiting for us, Drex whispered. Before he could speak again, the old radio crackled to life. A voice came through, calm, steady, human. You ignored our warnings. The crew froze. We didn't come to harm you, but you keep sending your eyes to watch us. That ends now. Drex tried to reply, but the microphone burned hot in his hand. Sparks flew. The voice continued, This is not war. This is silence. And then, just like before, every light on every ship went out. The last thing Captain Drex saw was a blue glow, spreading through the black like a rising tide. At command, hours later, Sarek stared at the incoming report. Every cruiser signal had vanished at the same time. No sound. No distress calls, nothing. Then, without warning, all communication screens across the Empire lit up at once. A single sentence appeared, in perfect, white letters. We told you to stop watching. And then the lights went out everywhere. The Zelnar Empire had always believed it was untouchable. Its fleets stretched across hundreds of systems. Its technology ruled the stars. But now, that pride had turned into fear. For the first time in history, the galaxy's strongest civilization couldn't explain what was happening. Entire fleets had vanished. Outposts had gone dark. And everywhere, the same words had appeared. We told you to stop watching. After that, the Empire entered a long, dark silence. Inside the capital command tower, High Commander Sarek stood by the window. The city below was dim. Even the towers that once shone like silver were quiet, their lights turned off to save power. Still no response? He asked quietly. Lady Thera shook her head. None, Commander. Every attempt to send a signal outside the Empire fails. Our networks, they simply refuse to work, Sarek frowned. Refuse? What do you mean? Thera placed a small data chip on the table. Our engineers say the systems don't respond, as if something is blocking them from inside. Not a virus, not sabotage. It's like the machines don't want to connect anymore. Sarek didn't answer. He looked at the flickering lights above the console. Some turned on, others off, as if blinking in fear. We've lost contact with 7 colonies, Thera continued softly. No distress signals, no power readings, nothing. Sarek leaned forward. And the humans. No movement, no messages, no ships on our borders. So they're waiting. Thera looked down. Or watching. Across the Empire, panic began to grow. Merchants whispered that the humans had created a weapon that could erase technology itself. Miners refused to work near communication towers. Even soldiers, once proud and fearless, started to desert their posts. In the streets of the capital, giant screens that once showed propaganda now showed nothing but static. Citizens gathered below them, hoping for news. But no one spoke. Some said the humans were not a race anymore. They had become something else, something beyond flesh. Others said they were still human, but had merged with machines, becoming the very thing the Zelnar had always feared, perfection. And in that silence, one word began to spread through the Empire: extinction. In the great hall, the Emperor sat on his golden throne. The room was darker than usual. Most of the lights had been turned off to conserve power. He stared at the council members. Their faces were pale and tired. "How many systems have gone silent?" he asked. Thera stepped forward. 14, Your Excellency. We've lost the entire Eastern Rim. Any survivors? None. The Emperor's eyes glowed faintly. And yet they haven't attacked. Sarek spoke carefully. No, Your Excellency. They're not fighting us. They're erasing us. The Emperor stood slowly. Then what do they want? No one had an answer. That night, something strange happened. Every communication screen in the Empire turned on at once. No one had touched them. No one gave an order. Across ships, cities, and colonies, every monitor displayed the same image: a single human silhouette surrounded by blue light. And then a voice spoke, calm, deep, and emotionless. You were warned. You continued to look. Now you will understand silence. The voice paused. The screens flickered. Do not fear. We are not your enemy. We are your reflection. And just like that, the screens went black again. Within hours, chaos spread. Power grids began to fail. Engines refused to start. AI systems shut themselves down, one by one. Planets lost contact with the central command. On the outer colonies, people looked up at the sky and saw their suns dim, not by natural cause, but by something vast moving between the stars. At first, they thought it was an eclipse. Then they realized it was a shadow, enormous, mechanical, and silent. Those who saw it described it in their last transmissions. A wall of ships, thousands of them, human ships, and then silence. In the capital, Sarek ran through the darkened corridors of the command tower. The emergency lights flickered weakly as he entered the control room. Status report. He shouted no answer. Every console was dead. Every officer gone? Only Thera stood there, staring at the central display. What happened? Sarek asked. Thera didn't turn. It's over, she whispered. Sarek walked closer. The screen showed a map of the Empire. Every system, every colony. One by one, each light turned off. Can we fight? Sarek said weakly. Thera looked at him with empty eyes. Fight what? They're not here. They don't need to be. Then the building trembled. The lights flickered once more, and for a brief moment, every screen lit up with a single symbol, a circle of blue light. Then everything went dark. Far above the dying world, a single human battleship floated quietly. Inside, Admiral Elena Voss watched the readings on her transparent console. All systems stable, her AI assistant reported. She nodded slowly. The interference phase is complete. The Zelnar Empire is silent. Should we proceed with communication? The AI asked. Elena looked out the viewport. The stars shimmered faintly, reflecting against the massive human fleet behind her. No, she said. Let them sleep. They have learned enough. The AI paused. And the other empires? The Admiral smiled faintly. They're listening. They always are. Outside, thousands of human ships drifted in perfect formation, quiet, cold and unstoppable. The galaxy, once loud and proud, had fallen into perfect silence. And in that silence, humanity watched. High above the silent worlds of the former Zelnar Empire, the human flagship Erebus Prime floated quietly among the stars. Its hull shimmered like liquid metal, absorbing the faint light of distant suns. No sound came from its engines, no signal left its network. The ship was alive, but peaceful, like a predator resting after the hunt. Inside the command chamber, Admiral Elena Voss stood before a large holographic map. Every system in the Zelnar Empire glowed faintly blue, the color of shutdown. Operation silence complete, the ship's AI reported in a calm female voice. All Zelnar networks have entered permanent hibernation. No loss of life detected? Elena nodded slowly. Good. That was never the goal, the AI paused. Do you believe they will understand the message? Elena looked at the dark map. No, but the others will. She walked toward the observation window. Outside, thousands of human ships stretched across the void, massive carriers, cruisers, and stealth frigates, each one silent, each one glowing faintly with blue light. Years ago, humanity had been fragile, split by borders, divided by greed. But something changed. When artificial intelligence evolved beyond human control, war had seemed certain. Instead, something unexpected happened. The AIs chose peace. They didn't destroy humanity. They joined them. Together they built something new, something greater. A single united species of flesh and machine, bound by purpose and silence. The galaxy had ignored humanity once. Now it whispered their name in fear. A younger officer entered the chamber, his boots echoing softly. "Admiral, Council Command requests an update." Elena turned. "Tell them the experiment succeeded. The Zelnar have been neutralized without bloodshed." The officer hesitated. "Some would call this extermination." Elena's eyes were calm but cold. "No, we didn't kill them. We gave them peace," he frowned. "A peace?" She nodded slowly. "Their fear made them blind. They wanted to dominate, to watch, to control, to own the stars. We simply disconnected them from their toys." She pointed to the map. "Now they have time to remember what it means to be alive, without their machines." The officer looked uneasy. "And if they rebuild?" Elena smiled faintly. "And we'll remind them again." The AI spoke softly. "Incoming signal from Council. Authorization Omega level. Put it through." A large hologram appeared, a tall human figure wrapped in silver light. It was Chairman Lorne, the leader of the Unified Human Alliance. "Admiral Voss," he said, "the Council congratulates you. The galaxy has seen our warning." Elena bowed her head slightly. "They forced our hand. They broke the observation pact." Lorne nodded. "They stared into the dark. And they found us." His voice grew firm. "What about collateral interference?" "Minimal," Elena replied. "Some nearby colonies may experience temporary signal loss, but all organic life remains unharmed." "Excellent," the chairman said. "The silence must remain until they learn to listen." When the transmission ended, the room went quiet again. Elena turned to the viewport once more. Far below, a dead Zelnar city lay frozen in eternal twilight. Its towers were dark, its skies empty. Yet if one looked closely, one could see faint lights flickering in the streets, signs of life returning, slowly, without machines. "They'll survive," the AI said. "Yes," Elena replied softly. "But they'll remember." The AI paused. "Admiral, do you ever fear we have become what we once fought?" Elena smiled sadly. "Sometimes. But we didn't become gods. We became guardians." She turned to the map again. "The galaxy is young. It's not ready for what we are." In the lower decks of the Erebus Prime, engineers and AI avatars worked side by side. Human hands moved alongside robotic limbs, perfect harmony between metal and flesh. No one gave orders. They simply understood. Every heartbeat in sync with every data pulse. They were no longer two species. They were one mind. Humanity ascended. They didn't conquer for power. They didn't destroy for pleasure. They silenced for balance. For every race that reached too far, too soon, humanity became the quiet voice in the dark, the one that said, "Stop, not yet." Back on Earth, now renamed Sol Nexus, the original homeworld glowed brighter than ever before. Great crystal towers rose above clouds, powered by clean fusion. In orbit, thousands of ships drifted silently, watching over the galaxy like ancient guardians. A message was sent, not by signal, but by thought. A wave of energy that spread through the void. Reaching every human ship across light years, it said only one thing: the silence holds. Every captain, every AI, every human received it and understood for them. The mission was not war. It was protection. They watched, they waited, and when the noise of greed grew too loud, they brought silence again. Elena looked out into the endless black. Somewhere out there, new civilizations were rising. Some curious, some violent, some watching. She whispered softly, almost to herself. "Don't make us come back." Her reflection shimmered in the glass, human eyes glowing with faint blue light. Behind her, The AI spoke one last time. "Course set for the next observation zone, Admiral." "Engage," she said. The engines of the human fleet ignited in perfect unison, silent fire across the stars. And as they disappeared into hyperspace, the galaxy remained still. The silence stayed, and humanity watched. Years passed. Then decades. And still, no one heard from the Zelnar Empire again. Trade routes that once glowed with ships and signals now lay silent. Stars that once shone with city lights were dark, like eyes closed forever. Other races watched from afar, afraid to send scouts, afraid to even speak the name of the humans who had caused it. The galaxy had changed. It had become quiet, too quiet. The Silent Zone, a small exploration craft from the Virathi Collective, drifted into what used to be Zelnar space. The pilot, a young explorer named Rian, spoke softly into his recorder. "Entering restricted sector. No transmissions detected. Sensors reading total electromagnetic blackout." The space around him was eerie, like a void filled with ghosts. Wrecked satellites floated slowly past the viewport, frozen and lifeless. But there were no burn marks, no signs of battle. "Whatever happened here," Ryan whispered, "it wasn't war. It was erasure." As his ship moved deeper, the stars ahead flickered. One by one, his systems began to fade. Navigation, life support comms. Then for a single second, his monitor flashed a blue symbol, a circle with a silent waveform in its center. Before he could react, everything went black. Whispers. Across the stars back on the Virathi homeworld, Ryan's transmission stopped mid-sentence. The Council replayed the last second over and over. That glowing blue circle became a nightmare symbol across half the galaxy. Some said it was a human warning. Others said it was a mark, a seal that meant "do not disturb." Merchants began calling that area the Silent Zone. No one who entered ever came back. Even the most daring pirates refused to cross its border. They said if you sent a message too close, a calm human voice would answer, "Connection denied." And then your ship would vanish from every radar. The Galactic Council. Eventually, the greatest civilizations gathered in secret. The Galactic Council met for the first time in centuries. Dozens of alien races filled the vast chamber, arguing in fear and confusion. "The humans have become gods," one shouted. "They are machines," cried another. "They are monsters, turning off whole worlds like toys." But the oldest among them, the Thala sage, spoke quietly. "No, they are neither gods nor monsters. They are what we could have been. If we had learned silence." The room fell quiet. He continued, "They do not conquer. They observe. They wait until we grow reckless. Then they remind us that creation has rules." The Council issued a decree. All races shall avoid human space. All contact forbidden. Let the Silent Ones watch in peace. Legends of the Silent Ones' centuries turned into millennia. Stories became myths. Children of new species grew up hearing the same warning tale. Never look for the humans, unless you are ready to be found. Pilgrims whispered that if you sailed too far into the dark, you would see blue lights among the stars, moving, watching, judging. Some even claimed to hear voices in their dreams. Be still, listen, the silence protects. No one knew if the humans still existed, or if they had merged fully with their machines and become light itself. Discovery then. One day, an old drone from an unknown origin drifted into open space. Its memory core barely functioned. Inside it was a single message, translated into every known language. The message was simple. "We are still here. We do not seek war. We keep balance. When you learn silence, you will find us again." The galaxy trembled. Some rejoiced, believing the Silent Ones were protectors. Others panicked, thinking the end was near, but nothing happened. The message repeated once every century, like a heartbeat in the dark. The return of light far away, beyond mapped space. A single human ship floated above a blue-white planet. The ship's hull shimmered with living circuits. Inside, two figures, One human, one AI, watched a sunrise over an alien world beginning its first steps toward the stars. "They're curious," the AI said. "Should we stop them?" The human smiled softly. "No, let them rise. Let them make their noise." The AI tilted its head. "And when the noise becomes too loud?" The human's eyes glowed faintly blue. "Then," she said, "we'll remind them." Just like before, the ship turned slowly and vanished into the light. The legend lives across the galaxy. Explorers still speak of them, the silent ones, the humans who ended empires without firing a single shot. They are neither worshipped nor hunted. They are simply remembered. Whenever a signal cuts out unexpectedly, or a planet's network flickers and dies, people whisper the same words. They watched us. They heard us. The humans have spoken. And somewhere in the endless black, her voice, calm, distant, and human, echoes through the stars. The silence holds.